Welcome to another episode of BOLELENG Asikhulume. We are saying as a South African Democratic Teachers Union that as we approach these elections on the 29th of May, we want to talk to all fraternal organizations. Not only do we talk to education workers, but we want to reach out to the society.
We all know what Comrade Chris Hani was standing for. We all experienced the pain of his brutal murder, which was a big plan, not a plan by individuals, a big plan from somewhere. We want answers, and we'll continue demanding answers. Who was involved? We are here to commemorate that great man, that communist, that socialist, that soldier, the people's leader.
I feel that we have achieved something in this country where those who have oppressed us in the past are actually talking to us and are showing readiness to negotiate for democratic elections.
It actually is a legitimate request and aspiration for a proper museum of the late Chris Hani to be established. Even more so because in his case, his assassination, brutally murdered by right-wingers, that led to 27th of April being set up as the date of the first ever democratic election. But secondly, also, I would like to say that on behalf of the government of the Republic of South Africa, we will also do what we have been wishing. Ask one of our research institutions to pay for the writing of an official and family-endorsed biography of the late Comrade Chris Hani. We don't have such. The first task indeed that we do need to do in honor of Comrade Chris is that on the 29th of May, we urge all South Africans to go out in their numbers and vote. Go out and vote in your numbers in order to defend the gains that we have made and also to pursue the path of a democratic South Africa. 30 years of our democracy, there are a number of things that if Comrade Chris were alive, would have been very happy about those things that this government, as led by the African National Congress over the last 30 years, has done. It's interesting that we can tell the achievements of the last 30 years through the very same campaign that Comrade Chris died leading, the H campaign. The campaign on health, campaign to fight hunger, and campaign for housing. And we can tell a good story just around this campaign. First of all, Comrade Chris Hani would be very happy that in the deepest of the rural areas of South Africa, you do find a sign that points you to a clinic. It's a legacy and an achievement of this government that no matter the fact that there are challenges, that some of the clinics may not be to the standard we want, but in every little corner of South Africa, there is a health clinic. We will be today celebrating with Comrade Chris Hani that this parliament of a democratic South Africa has passed the National Health Insurance Bill, the NHI. There is a very direct link between that H campaign and the NHI. One other achievement in the area of health that Comrade Chris would have been very happy about is that in the wake of COVID-19 and from our experiences of developed countries depriving us vaccines, we have now, as South Africa, for the first time, developed local capacity to develop our own vaccines in South Africa. Not only for South Africa, but for the continent as a whole. Scientists tell us that because of climate change, we have entered the era of pandemics. So it's very important that we don't become beggars, but we have our own local vaccine development capacity. That's on the health side. Just some of the things. On the issue of hunger, one of the biggest achievements of this government has actually been to establish, by the way, a system of social grants to alleviate poverty and for our people to be able to make some ends meet. Inadequate as they may be, but I am not aware in the sub-Saharan Africa of any system that has got social grants like we have. Whether it's the child grant, the old age grant, the grant for those with disabilities, and so on. That's a very important platform to fight against poverty and also against hunger. And it's something that is important. But one of the most important social grants, if you like, or grants that South Africa has established is an education grant, which, by the way, firstly, operates in the schooling system not as a grant, but about 80% of South Africa's schools are fee-free schools. There are no fees that are being paid there. And then there is the National Student Financial Aid Scheme that, since it was established in 1991, by the way, it was our former President Mandela who went to de Klerk, the last apartheid president, and said, you shall establish a scheme to help poor children to go to universities and colleges in 1991. That year, NSFAS was 21 million. This year, NSFAS has reached 50 billion rands, and it's supporting more than 1 million students. And since its establishment in 1991, it has supported more than 5 million students. Now, the most distinct thing about NSFAS is that it breaks intergenerational poverty. This thing of one family handing poverty to its generation that comes after it. Once you produce an artisan through NSFAS, or an engineer, or a medical practitioner, it's the end of poverty for that family. South Africa has actually built a lot of houses for poor people. In 1996, only 58.1% of the houses were electrified. But in 2022, it was 94.7 houses electrified. As government, we are not happy about load shedding. We need to end load shedding, because it is a subtraction to our economic growth and development, amongst other things. We must also take up this struggle to protect the advances we've made in providing piped water, from 32.3 in 2001 to 59.7 in 2022. So as government, we want to say today, these are some of the things that are very important in taking forward the struggle that Comrade Chris had. Of course, we are under no illusion that we still have a lot to do to take forward. In particular, there are challenges that we've done something about, but we are far from addressing them. The issue of jobs, the issue of economic growth and development, that's one of the key challenges that we face, as well as some of the social ills that we face. For instance, the scourge of gender-based violence. You are saying to men, stand up. In fact, we won't defeat this until men stand up and say it is wrong to abuse women. The scourge of drugs and substance abuse, it's ravaging our communities. Comrade Chris hated corruption. So does the ANC hate corruption, by the way. Those who are implicated to have their hands dirty in the corporate capture of the state must be dealt with. And we must not allow them to use any excuses or any method to try and run away from accounting for these realities. Because the account of what we call state capture in this country, actually some of those actions amount to treason. And we, as a country, in honor of this hero, we must have our date in dealing with state capture and all those who were involved in it.
This was an ANC soldier, an ANC leader, Umkhonto wesizwe leader, Ijoni, in the trenches. He was able to lead both the ANC and the Communist Party.
Well, that was another episode of BOLELENG. Asikhulume, let's talk, asixoxisane. We will see you again in our next episode. Voting is cool, and it is even cooler when you vote for the African National Congress. My name is Xolani Fagude. Thank you.